City of Marion is pleased to bring you the State of the City address. Join us now as we highlight some of the great things happening here in Marion. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to introduce Mr. Chuck Binkert, Executive Director of Marion Utilities. With over 42 years of experience in the utility industry and 22 years serving with Marion Utilities, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Binkert to the floor.
Hello, and thank you to Mayor Allenball for giving me the opportunity to speak to you on issues and happenings associated with Marion Utilities. In spite of the obvious challenges of 2020, I'm happy to report that through teamwork, through perseverance, and a little creativity, the teams at the City of Marion Utilities have met the challenges before us successfully and have accomplished our purpose and our mission in 2020. Through each of our 4 utility divisions, the drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste divisions, our teams have continued to provide uninterrupted essential services in support of our local public health efforts, the local economy, and our environment. To each and every one of our Marion Utilities team members, to our board, to the mayor and his staff, and to the members of the City Council, each of whom have supported our efforts, making it possible to accomplish our mission, I'd like to say thank you. Meeting our goals in 2020 has truly been a collaboration, and we appreciate the support across the board. I just wanted to highlight a few of the projects that we had occurring in 2020. We installed 4,000 feet of new storm sewer and sanitary sewer. We completed approximately 11,000 lineal feet of sanitary sewer lining and rehabilitation. We initiated and completed a major repair of a collapsed sewer beneath the railroad tracks on South Meridian Street. And normally I wouldn't include that with projects, but that became a very large issue and a large project that ended up costing about $150,000 to make the repairs, and a lot of cooperation amongst our engineering staff, our operations staff, and some local contractors to keep one of our large employers in business during that time of failure. So I just wanted to mention that as one of our projects as well. We completed several process and building upgrades and improvements across all 4 of our utilities. Some of the operational highlights that I could report include that we provided 1.3 billion gallons of drinking water to our community in 2020. We received and processed 2.8 billion gallons of wastewater during that time. We provided over 480 tons of biosolids and more than 5,000 tons of lime supplement to area farmers for beneficial reuse in agricultural purposes. We generated and distributed nearly 400 tons of compost product to both residential consumers as well as to area farmers. We generated a little more than 1.5 million kilowatt hours of renewable energy through our operations. So we're real proud of those efforts, and our folks are continuing to work to increase our abilities to produce that renewable energy. We create methane gas at the wastewater treatment plant. We capture that, and we use that as a fuel to create energy and electricity, which provides about 1/4 of our energy demand at the wastewater treatment plant. Or you could look at it as providing enough energy to supply about 700 homes through the course of a year. We collected and disposed of 10,400 tons of solid waste. That's up about 20% over 2019's numbers. Through the new recycling center, we collected and we processed more than 40 tons of recycled materials. So that includes cardboard, glass, metals, and paper. That's nearly 18% more material that we processed in 2020 than in 2019. We cleaned and televised nearly 200,000 feet of sanitary and storm sewer throughout the year. We swept every street in Marion twice, and in some areas, in some key areas that we were concerned with, we swept those areas 3 times during the course of the year. We removed about 1,500 tons of debris through that process. So in addition to these rather routine activities and projects, our community's long-term control plan was a matter of significant emphasis for us. It took a lot of our time and a lot of our resources to look at that long-term control plan issue and deal with that on behalf of our community in 2020. The plan, just as a refresher for some, is a regulated measure designed to mitigate combined sewer overflows throughout the community, and especially that affect Boots Creek and the Mississinewa River. The original sewer system in Marion, as well as early systems all across the nation, were designed to operate and carry both wastewater from homes and businesses, as well as to collect and purvey stormwater during a heavy rain event. From the late 1990s through the early 2000s, EPA had been working with communities to upgrade and update their systems to eliminate, or at least to greatly minimize, the effects of these discharges into local streams and local waterways. The utility at Marion Utilities has been working over the years to accomplish this enormous task and has made significant headway towards those goals. We've already spent tens of millions of dollars towards the efforts, and we've seen great results as a result of that. Back in 1994, when a lot of this discussion began to happen, there were studies done at the time to try to determine what the impact would be to our streams from these combined sewer overflow events. And it was determined back then that 1.2 billion gallons of combined sewer overflow volumes were being discharged into our streams and river in the community. Through the course of the years and the decades, and again, tens of millions of dollars being spent, much was accomplished. So in 2009, we wanted to take a look at where we were in regards to our efforts. And we determined at that time that about 182 million gallons of flow were being discharged. So there was extreme significant improvement in benefit and success through the projects that had been accomplished. In 2020, we did another study to see where we were in light of the fact that we had accomplished some more significant projects. We saw about 56 million gallons of water being discharged through these ports at that time. Our anticipated end result is less than 500,000 gallons being discharged into our rivers and streams in the community once our projects and our program is complete, which would be about 2025. In 2020, we developed preliminary plans for the next phase of projects that are associated with the long-term control plan. Again, this is a series of projects that will be accomplished up to and even probably beyond the year 2025. An expected price tag of more than $12 million, we took the necessary measures to ensure that funding was in place for the projects late last year, 2020. During that time, our board, the mayor, and the city council provided their support through the authorization of an $11 million bond issue to support these projects. So we're working through that process right now. Moving into 2021, we're finalizing the plans to prepare bidding for these significant projects. Those will include upgrades to the disinfection process at the wastewater treatment plant. They'll also include improvements and storage facilities for wet weather capture and storage as we move forward with our projects. We'll also be working on engineering for the final phases of the long-term control plan projects, which will include additional collection and storage facilities in various areas throughout the community. On another topic of focus for 2021, we're looking at new legislation and rules that are coming out of EPA that are associated with lead and copper issues in drinking water. Given the age of Marion's system, there are older service lines that include lead piping. It was a very common material to be used back in the early days of installing these water systems. For years, we've been monitoring and managing the water chemistry such that levels are well below EPA's action limits. Even so, we've been systematically working to replace as many of these service lines as possible over the years. It's been a focus for us and a goal for us to continue to remove these lead services. In light of some of the tragic events in other communities across the country, And with EPA's new emphasis in terms of focusing on this particular issue in the years moving forward, we'll be increasing our efforts in 2021 to ensure that we have a workable plan to remove and eliminate all lead service lines across Marion's distribution system. We want to do that in a timely manner. I often hear people talk about the quality of our water, our drinking water here in Marion, and the quality of our other utility services as well that we provide. We're proud of our team members. We're proud, and we attribute our success to their dedication, to their hard work, to their knowledge, to their expertise in a very highly technical and ever-evolving industry. In 2021, we're committed to continuing and even improving, where possible, the levels of quality and service that we provide to our great community. Thank you again to Mayor Allenball for giving me the opportunity to speak on these issues.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julie Flores, Controller of the City of Marion. Julie joins us as her 6th year serving the citizens of Marion. She has built up to her career in Marion, having served 18 years with Gas City, 2 initial years as Deputy Clerk Treasurer, and 16 years as the Clerk Treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Allenball and the Chamber for allowing me this time to report the city finances. During the first 4 years of this administration, we came a long way financially in achieving the goals that we set out in our first state of the city, which in part were to eliminate bond bank borrowing, reduce insurance deficit, and have revenues exceed expenditures. I will touch on these points as well as others as I review our 2020 accomplishments. Our general fund cash balance continued to increase, ending 2020 with 70% more than in 2019, and 1,000% more than ending 2015, which is when this administration took over. This positive cash balance trend correlates with lower bond bank borrowing. We are doing well in that area, but we're not where we want to be because we are still borrowing money. In 2021, we will borrow $1,175,000, which is $3.3 million less than we borrowed in 2020, $5.5 million less than the first year of this administration. Revenues continue to exceed expenditures. This is reflective of the departments not spending all of their appropriations, which results in having cash reserves. Sufficient cash reserves should never be below 15% of the disbursements in the incoming year. In 2021, our cash reserves 17%. In 2020, cash reserves were 10.2%, and when this administration took over, the cash reserves were at 1.4%. Our insurance fund is in the positive for the first time since 2007. We ended 2020 with $189,017 as of cash balance. At the beginning of 2020, our cash balance was negative $1.9 million. And when we took over in 2016, the insurance fund cash balance was negative $4.2. The last thing I would like to report on is the 2019 audit, which was completed this past summer by the State Board of Accounts, and that audit found no new findings for the City of Marion. In closing, while this report is positive, the effects of COVID-19 will not be seen for another 12 months because of the delay in income taxes. So we will need to remain fiscally responsible in preparing for 2022. But rest assured, we will not forget whose money we are spending. Thank you again for the opportunity to report on the finances of the city.
We now welcome Mr. Michael D. Flynn, Chief of Staff of the City of Marion. This is Chief Flynn's 6th year serving the citizens of Marion. He has over 35 years in public service, with 28 of those spent in management and administration with agencies involved in local, state, and federal service. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael D. Flynn.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you today. I could spend the next 2 hours talking about all of the fine work the men and women at the City of Marion have done this past year during the pandemic, but I've asked them to submit to me a list of those things that they were proud of and the things that they wanted you to know about that they want to try to accomplish in 21. And I'm going to start with our City Hall maintenance crew, basically comprised of 2 people. And during this past year, during the downtime, they were able to go through and identify areas of City Hall where they could adjust the HVAC system and control what was being sent to different parts of the building. And while that may not sound like much, it actually resulted in quite a savings for the city. So I was very proud of them to take that on in their own initiative. Next year, their primary program is going to be to install security doors at City Hall. This will allow city employees to use key fobs upon entrance, and they will be able to control the access by locking the doors automatically and remotely at specific times. So, say during a city council meeting, the doors will automatically unlock for the public to have access. Our Parks Department was very busy as well. They were awarded a $100,000 grant, which provided for the installation of 5 new playground structures throughout the city in the various parks. Of course, during the pandemic, they were under a lot of pressure with the splash house operation, whether it was going to open or not, what was safe, what wasn't. Of course, the mayor made the decision, I think wisely, to keep the splash house shut down during the pandemic. So they are still planning on the possibility of opening that, depending on what the trend does in 21. And they were able to keep the 4th of July fireworks, which I think was a huge success this year and enjoyed by many families who were able to gather in their cars around the area. And of course, just coming off of the Walkway of Lights, again, kind of a new program because there used to be a fee for every car coming through. And this year, they opened it up as a donation, and we sought funding from other sources that still allowed the public to go through and see that wonderful, wonderful light display, which this year was all LED, and I think was quite noticeable. We had several comments from people. Our neighborhood association was quite busy last year, being headed by Kayla Johnson, and she is doing this program by herself and has done a fine job. They conducted numerous cleanouts through the city with various neighborhood associations. I know of at least 6 dumpsters that were used, several dump trucks that were taken and called to the locations to help remove the debris. They did this in an effort not only to clean up the neighborhood, but to hopefully make it a safer neighborhood for the citizens to get out and spend some time. So next year, they are actually going to look for what's called a Good Neighbor Academy. And what this is a further partnership between the neighborhoods and the city courts to kind of help those who have the rental properties and owner properties, how to maintain them, how to stay in compliance, and who they need to contact if they need assistance. So that'll be a very viable program for the city as well. Our citywide maintenance department, these are the fellows who basically keep your streets operational. They were challenged as well because, of course, with the shutdown of manpower and the energies that were expended by a lot of the other employees trying to get their jobs done, they were taxed quite a bit. So I was very proud of what they had accomplished that year. The one thing that they did this year, which was kind of uncommon, they assisted the building department in some of the demolitions and destructions of the abandoned and unsafe homes throughout the city. This showed an effort when the times of the work effort weren't there as a result of the pandemic. We were able to join forces with various departments to help accomplish a goal for one another. So, again, was very proud of them for that. James Loftus, our director, would like to let you know that he is planning on installing numerous playground equipment throughout the city. They are going to improve the walkway under the Washington Street Bridge, which is in some disrepair at this time. And James has actually initiated a new program that he's seen utilized around the state, and it's a brine substance program where they will be able to put down a solution on the city roadways, and that will help deter any buildup of ice as we're currently experiencing, because it's just too cold for the salt to melt what's out there. The brine product apparently works very well, so we're looking forward to that. Probably the department that was taxed the most was our transportation department. These people are frontline workers. We always think of our public safety employees, which we should, but I'm telling you that these folks were probably on a day-to-day basis exposed to more people who could have potentially been carrying the COVID virus than anybody else within City Hall. So what the plan was this year was the operation was changed to where it was a call-in service only. Within 24 hours, if you could give them notice that you needed to go to an essential location, such as a doctor, a dentist, medical appointment, the grocery, they would then come and pick you up at your residence and take you to the location you need to go. To be able to facilitate more riders, they actually compiled a list and maintained social distancing on our bus to ensure that they could accomplish as many of the runs they needed to. Jeff Edwards, the director of our transportation, did an outstanding job in procuring plexiglass dividers for the buses. This not only provided protection for the passengers who were entering the bus, but for the drivers as well. And of course, we provided sanitation solution for everyone who got on the bus in their travels. Hopefully, we hope to return to normal operation next year. But again, with the uncertainty, we do plan on at least keeping this program operational so that we can get citizens where they need to go. Our building department, which is probably the busiest department we have in City Hall, again, as I mentioned earlier, had done quite a few demolitions. As a matter of fact, they had done approximately 24 abandoned and unsafe structures this year. They issued over 550 building permits because they remained open and operational to ensure that residents would be able to do repairs to their homes and facilitate the new builds that were taking place in the city. Their focus next year will be primarily to make sure that the new property registration ordinance that was enacted meets compliance. It'll be a daunting task, but I know that Jerry and his code enforcement staff are up to the challenge, so we will keep an eye on that as well. Our fire department, you can't say enough about these men and what they do for us on a daily basis. Chief Paul David, I met with him yesterday, and he was proud to tell me that they actually had responded to about 500 more calls in 2020 than they had responded in the entire career of the fire department, which is amazing. The majority of those, of course, were medical assist runs, which again is a frightening situation because they don't know what they're going to entail when they get out there. But I was pleased and proud of Paul because he was able to provide all of the PPE gear, the personal protection equipment that those men needed to ensure their safety when they got to the scene. And in addition to the runs that they had made, Paul was able to use the COVID-19 funding to get gear extractors, air purifiers, and sanitizers for every fire station in the city. And not only did they use that for their own equipment, they actually reached out and were able to provide sanitizing opportunities for the Marion Police Department, the Grant County Sheriff's Department, and others who were in need of getting their uniforms and their gear disinfected. So again, it was a team effort during this most trying time. In 2021, Paul said he would like to purchase a hazardous material vehicle. And that'll be a vehicle that would be used to respond to any type of hazardous material incident that would provide an additional safety barrier for the men responding to these events. And that is where the focus will remain for them this next year. And last but not least, the Marion Police Department. Again, I can't say enough for the work that these men and women have done during this most trying time. Met with Chief Haley, and she was all smiles and telling me that in compiling their uniform crime report for 2020, it was some of the best statistics they have ever reported to the federal government. So we're seeing a trend going in the right direction, at least from the efforts that the men and women are putting forth with the police department. Central Dispatch was enacted this past year, which was a mandate by the state, which helps us become in compliance, but it also results in the increased call times that we get to disseminate information to any public service agency that needs to respond to an event, and has increased that response time significantly. So we're very pleased that that program is off the ground. Angie was also very pleased to say that the POW Club was able to keep their operations continuing without any interruption because she felt like it was important that the children have a sense of normalcy in their day-to-day lives with so much disruption that had taken place. And I'm also pleased to note that as a result of the hard work of the men and women of MPD and the Grant County Prosecutor's Office, they were able to obtain a conviction on the horrendous homicide that took place with the Blackwell family. So we were very pleased to see justice finally come for that family as well. Focusing in 2021, they would like to get some new technology for the police department that is currently being used in several cities throughout Indiana. One of them is a 3D scanner, which can be very helpful, and the other is a plate reader that can be set up in high crime locations and track the movement of vehicles, suspect vehicles in the area, and kind of help track the movements of where some of the nefarious activities going on. So again, if you ever see one of these men and women out, please stop and thank them, because they have sacrificed a lot. As I've said in the past, I've been in government for over 32 years, and this is probably the most unselfish, dedicated staff of employees I've had the pleasure to work with. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate working with you in the future.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is our great honor to welcome Mr. Jess Allenbaugh, Mayor of the City of Marion. This is Mayor Allenbaugh's second term serving the citizens of Marion. Mayor Allenbaugh was elected to his first term in 2015 and re-elected in 2019. His previous 12 years in development at Indiana Wesleyan University helped him build his passion for overall community development. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Jess Allenbaugh.
Hello to Marion and Grant County. Let me first start out by thanking the people that made this State of the City broadcast a reality for us. Sunnycrest Baptist Church, who's hosting this event for us. Also, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Kylie Jackson. They spearhead this State of the City each and every year, and this has been the most trying year to do this. And they've come up with a very unique format working with the church. So we're very thankful to what they have done here to make this a reality for us. Also, I'd like to thank the people who have joined me to speak about the State of the City. First, Chuck Binkert. He's the director of Marion Utilities, and a misconception many people have it, they think that's part of the City of Marion. Chuck does not report to me directly. He's not supervised by me. He runs his own entity, but we do have a close partnership and correspond on a very regular basis to take care of our community. Secondly, I'd like to thank Julie Flores, the controller. She, many years ago, 2016, walked into this job and took on a big challenge, and she's done a great job of bringing us to a much better place financially. Very pleased with her work, but also pleased that she would take time to come on here and talk about the state of the city's financial portfolio. And then last, but certainly not least, is my Chief of Staff, Mike Flynn, the right-hand man to me these now almost full 5 years, but now into the 6th year. He was in retirement, and I brought him out, and I couldn't have made a better choice. Very thankful for all he does, working with our department heads. Now, let me get to some of the things I'd like to talk to you about what's going on here in the City of Marion. In 2015, when I first campaigned for mayor, the things I heard the most were about the streets. Number one priority, will you please start paving our streets, repairing our potholes? Well, I'm glad to tell you that over the last 5 years, we've paved one-third of all the miles of streets in the City of Marion. There's approximately 88 miles of streets in the City of Marion, and we've paved one-third of those in 5 years. We hope to have, by the end of this term, paved at least 2/3 of our streets. That's a lot of paving. I get it. If I didn't pave your street, you're wondering where we're paving. But we focus primarily on our major thoroughfares, the busiest roads in Marion. We've made that a priority because we all use those roads to get to school. We use them to get to the doctor, to church. All those priority destinations that we have, it's important to have those roads be in good shape. And I'm very proud of the work our street department has done to make our travel a little easier now. Secondly, the second most conversation on the porches and living rooms of people's homes in 2015 was what happened with the old YMCA. Find out what happened and hold people accountable. Well, at first it looked like the appeals court of the state of Indiana was going to squash that. But the state Supreme Court is now taking a deeper look into this. We don't know yet what the outcome will be, but we are attempting to hold those who were involved in that project at the old YMCA accountable. We're working on changing this, and hopefully we'll get our day in court, because what happened there should never be allowed to happen again. And the only reason it has been allowed to happen up until this point was statute of limitations. And I'm trying to get it to where no matter when you are elected and when you leave office, whatever you did in office you can still be held accountable for. I think that's the only way you can have a true and transparent government. So we'll have that outcome, we hope, in the spring or summer, but the state Supreme Court will work in their own time. They don't answer to me either. Another project that we're working on, not sure you're aware of, some people are because they attended the public forum, our Lowhead Dam there, the Charles Mill Dam, that's an issue we're dealing with here in Marion. It's in disrepair. It really needs a lot of money poured into it to get it to work properly again. The state of Indiana seems to want these Lowhead dams removed. They're making that more of a priority. We need to have more conversation with the public. We're having a study done. It's been completed. You can access it on our website. And I would say to you, do so before you form an opinion. But what we do know for certain about Lowhead dams is we have people who have drowned, not just in Marion, but in other cities that have these Lowhead dams because of the pond situation that's created, that deep water that the dam creates in a small area of the river. And that's the one fact we can't argue. We've lost lives here, several, at the dam. So we'll have more conversations and look at what will be best for the city of Marion and the dam situation. But right now, we need to have more conversations with you. You'll be invited when we have more freedom to bring you into the building and not have to wear a mask and separate. We'll try to sit down and have that conversation and figure what's best for Marion moving forward. We don't know the cost yet, and I'm sure the cost won't be a low-cost project. So that's another variable in the equation. One of my top priorities when I took office was trying to bring life to our downtown. I talked about that often during the campaign, and it's been a focus of mine from day one. And I'm very pleased with the progress we're making. I do want to remind you that the downtown improvements are more of a ripple type improvement. To expect it to be a huge explosion of brand new business is probably not a very realistic approach to downtown development. But what we have seen is pretty significant development in these first 5 years in office. I can tell you the old Beatniks building there on the north side of the square and the Wolf building, particularly the Wolf building, people said, that can't be saved. Well, not only was it saved, it was completely renovated and it's now fully occupied. The original building still stands. Beatniks as well. It has been completely renovated and is fully occupied on the north side of our downtown square. These were dormant buildings. Very exciting, I think, for the city of Marion. I can tell you some of the businesses, and I hope I don't leave any out, but some of the new businesses in the last 4 to 5 years are businesses that relocated to a spot downtown that has really enhanced traffic in downtown because it's driving people to their shops, to their restaurants, whatever type of business they have. Is creating foot traffic again in downtown Marion as I remember it as a child. That's where all the businesses were. It's where most of Marion's business was done. Let me tell you, the Marion Cycle Works, Cinder Cafe is now open at 100 South Washington. Echo Gallery is now open in downtown Marion on South Washington Street, just north of the square. Halstead Architects, Michael Halstead not only bought Ridley Tower and is renovating it, but he also is in Beatniks. He owns that building and has renovated it. It is not quite fully occupied, but it does have a lease agreement for a restaurant on the downstairs part of that building. His business, Halstead Architects, is on the top floor. Another one is Design Studios, 407. We lost a dear beloved friend of Marion, Linda Harmon, recently to COVID. That's her business. So they're on the north side again. And doing wonderful business. She told me before the pandemic hit, the business was up over 50% since she moved to the north side of the square. Also, we have True Envy Boutique. Dawn's doing a wonderful job with her shop there. That's right next to Linda Harmon's studio. So side-by-side stores that are bringing people in, not just from Marion and Grant County, but from other states, other cities. We've even had somebody from another country visit those shops. Also, we have Creech's Country Cafe there on the bridge on Washington Street. They do a tremendous amount of catering business as well. Some people aren't aware of that, but they are doing a wonderful business, especially breakfast and lunch business. But if you need catering, that's one of their biggest jobs is catering. Also, the train station where the old Mi Pueblos used to be downtown, right by the railroad track, that's open and operating now. That had been dormant for a while, so it's good to see that building being utilized. It's a beautiful building, and I encourage everyone to frequent these downtown businesses. And then we go to Ridley Tower. But let me also mention to you the Kingdom. The Kingdom is open. Bobby Pittman's building there, really kind of across from the Girl Scout cabin on Spencer Avenue there, which is, some people call it Wabash, but it's really Spencer Avenue. That's another new business that's here in Marion and really had some live entertainment happening down there before the pandemic hit. Hopefully Bobby gets that renovated and ready for the opening when this pandemic slows down and we get back to getting that place rocking and rolling. He really had an outstanding business going there. Now, let me tell you about what's in Ridley Tower, because many of you probably haven't been in the building yet with the pandemic, but it is being renovated. It's beautiful. The old marble columns are back there. Gorgeous, gorgeous building when you walk in. It looks much like it did back in its heyday when it was Marion National Bank there on the southwest corner of our square. F.C. Tucker, the real estate company, located their offices in there. They fill up the very bottom back of the facility there. That whole building is the back west end of the building, first floor, is full of F.C. Tucker employees. There's an insurance company in there. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Obie's Barbecue just recently opened about a week ago. And Obie's Barbecue was the winner of a contest on pitch night. And they have 1 year free lease from Mr. Halstead, Michael Halstead. That was part of his agreement. And they just opened, and that's on the south end of Ridley Tower, the old Marion National Bank building. Jigsaw Junction is moving in there very soon from the Boston Hill Center. Jigsaw Junction, the Herds are moving in there. They're also going to open up an ice cream parlor in Ridley Tower on the first floor. Lots of activity going on in downtown Marion with new business. The Boston Hill Center has Burning Studios, Players Gear, Essential Cuts, KB Computer moved over there, and also Ann Maddox's Fine Art Studio is there. So they're still continuing to have some of their old lease clients there as well, but that building's filling up, and we're just real pleased with all this business in downtown because it's creating that foot traffic we so desperately needed. We had a dormant downtown with almost no activity, and now we're starting to see people moving around in downtown Marion again. That's not the only place where there's some positive things happening. If you go up and down our bypass, you'll see that Dunkin' Donuts opened up. Panda Express is now open. The Roadhouse, which the race for the steakhouse is now over. The Roadhouse made it Marion, and we're so thankful for them. They're doing a wonderful business there. And what I notice there so often is the plates in the parking lot are from other communities. They're not 27 on their plate. They have a lot of different numbers on those license plates. So we're bringing in people from other areas to the city of Marion, which is a great thing. Also, we have Bell Tire open up out there. Harbor Freight is open on the east side of the east side of the bypass. Regions Bank opened a branch on the south side of the bypass out in front of Meyer. Holiday Inn Express is now open on the north side of the bypass across from Pizza Hut. Now, you just heard probably, or you may have heard on social media, the Chronicle Tribune just reported it. Popeyes is coming soon. Popeye's Chicken will be coming soon. I'll let them tell you the location. I didn't want to leak this story, but the local media called corporate headquarters, and they went ahead and told them, yes, we are coming to Marion. Also, we have the Noble Wine and Spirits. I don't know if you've noticed that. That's on 16th and the bypass, right behind the McClure station, where Lance's Market used to be. That is not just a carry-out packaged liquor store. That is their warehouse for all of their many locations throughout Indiana. So they put a substantial investment into that building. Actually bought the whole building, all of that facility, and they're looking to keep the same clients that are there now that have been good lease partners for them. So that's another new business in Marion, and much more than just retail. It's a warehouse for all of their stores. Housing in downtown, which is another priority. You can have all these amenities in downtown, but without having the housing down there, we have to have people living there too to make it a successful and long-term upgrade for the city of Marion. Ridley Tower is going to have about 26 market rate apartments in their downtown location there where Marion National Bank used to be. Not only the restaurant and other businesses downtown and the Jigsaw Junction and the ice cream parlor, but they're going to have people actually living in those apartments in downtown Marion, which is very exciting. And a project that is early in its stage, but in partnership with Affordable Housing. And another project downtown, the Danmar and Cecilian Apartments, the old brick buildings that used to be some of Marion's finest apartments many years ago, across from our Marion Post Office. Those will soon be becoming senior housing apartments. So they'll be occupied well and renovated. There'll be beautiful apartments in downtown Marion. Another prominent downtown business and one of my favorite restaurants in town, Los Amores, there in the Boston Hill Center. They have been outstanding even through the pandemic. They've stayed very busy. So very happy to have Los Amores choose downtown Marion as their location. Now that's a lot of changes in downtown and along our bypass. and we're very proud of those changes. But we're not done yet. There's still a few other projects right now that we're working on, particularly in the downtown area, a couple more buildings that are being looked at, and we're hoping to have good news soon, but we don't want to jump out in front of that. It will happen in its time. And at this time, I'm not ready to give any more details because I'm trying to be respectful of the developers and their time frame. But very exciting news going on throughout Marion, and we're very pleased with the progress we made. We're looking forward to this year. I will tell you, last year was probably the most challenging of all the years I've been mayor because of the pandemic. I look forward to the day I no longer have to wear one of these. I'm so tired of it. I like to be out in front of people. One of the downtown business people said they hadn't seen much of me. I used to walk all around downtown after lunch. I haven't been able to do that with the pandemic. I didn't know if people would feel comfortable with me walking in even with the mask on. And I hope to get back to that because I want to hear what you, the people of Marion, what you envision for our community. What's your hope? What do you want to see happen in Marion? What are things we can work on together to make this community better? We've accomplished a lot, especially, as you know, the financials, as Controller Julie Flores talked about. We came from a very difficult situation to a much healthier place now, and I couldn't be more pleased with that. But again, we're not quite where we want to be even financially. Made tremendous progress with the paving. The downtown improvements are really beginning to happen. That is one of the things I'm most proud of, is to see the progress. So we're not where we want to be, but we hope to get there. And I do want to say thank you again to the people that helped make this project, or this state of the city, happen. But I also left out somebody from the city of Marion who was integral in making it happen, and that's Layla Price-Botkin. She worked diligently with this church and with the chamber to bring this to reality. So it's the first time doing it in this format. I'd much rather, I'm used to it, being in front of people now more live, and I get my energy from being around people. This is a little more difficult, but I'm getting a little more used to it because I do this taping with the church about once a month. But I sure miss seeing the people. I miss seeing your faces and getting your feedback when these types of events are over. I miss that personal engagement. I can't wait till we get back to doing that and hanging out together, because we will get through this. We just have to listen to our health experts. Wear a mask when you can, not just for your own protection, but for those you love, especially those who have health issues and those who are elderly. Let's get through this, get back to normal as soon as we can, and we'll all be better for it. And let's just keep moving Marion in the right direction and look for bigger and better things in 2021. Thank you for your time.